The cameras were not hidden. They were installed openly, deliberately, in the corners of a quiet office in Manila. For 6 days, a foreign executive watched every movement of his Filipino staff. On the 7th day, he stopped, not because the system failed, but because what he saw made continued watching feel unnecessary. The man's name was Kareem Al-Hassan, a senior operations executive from the Middle East, sent to oversee a regional outsourcing firm recently acquired by his company. His reputation preceded him. Efficient, disciplined, uncompromising. He believed productivity was proven only when measured, recorded, and verified. Trust, in his experience, came last. The Philippine branch he inherited was small. 23 employees, modest salaries, aging computers, a rented floor in a concrete building overlooking traffic-clogged streets. To Kareem, it looked disorganized, too informal, too relaxed. He had seen similar offices fail in other countries, usually from what he called unmonitored leniency. Within his first week, Kareem approved a full surveillance upgrade. High-definition cameras over every work row. Audio disabled, video continuous. Management was informed. Staff were notified. No threats were made. No accusations spoken. The reason given was simple: process optimization and quality assurance. The room changed instantly. Conversations softened. Chairs moved less. Smiles tightened, yet no one protested. The employees nodded politely, signed acknowledgement forms, and returned to their desks. To Kareem, the compliance confirmed his belief. Rules maintained order. Observation enforced discipline. Cameras would reveal what politeness concealed. On the first day of monitoring, Kareem watched from his office. He expected distraction, laziness, time theft. Instead, he saw a quiet focus. Screens filled with spreadsheet service tickets, client logs. Fingers moved steadily. Breaks were brief. When one employee finished early, she assisted another without instruction. He dismissed the first day of performance theater. People behaved when watched. The real test, he believed, would come later, when routine eroded restraint. On day 2, he observed again. The rhythm continued. No supervisor hovered. No raised voices. No slacking. Just steady, coordinated effort. Mid-morning, one employee noticed a colleague struggling with a malfunctioning headset. Without standing, he slid his own across the desk and adjusted the cable on hers. No conversation. No signal. Work resumed. Kareem rewound the footage twice, searching for inefficiency. He found only quiet cooperation. By day 3, Kareem expanded his viewing. He monitored arrival times. Most came early, not significantly, 5 or 10 minutes, but consistently. He watched lunch breaks. Some employees ate at desks to finish tasks before deadlines. Others stepped out briefly, returning before the hour ended. No enforcement followed. None was needed. What unsettled him was not what he saw, but what he didn't. No supervisor pacing. No pressure tactics. No incentive boards. Productivity was maintained without visible control. Kareem had managed teams where fear drove output. Here, effort seemed internally governed. He struggled to identify the mechanism. On day 4, a power fluctuation dimmed the lights for several seconds. The system recovered quickly, but during the interruption, the camera feed paused. When it returned, no one had moved. No phones appeared. No relief. Work resumed as if observation had never ceased. That evening, Kareem reviewed the footage at double speed. He searched for patterns. Micro breaks, disengagement, silent rebellion. Instead, he noticed something else. When one employee completed a task, she checked other screens, not to report, but to anticipate help needed before it was asked. He called his local operations manager the next morning. She had been with the company for 9 years. Kareem asked why turnover was low despite modest pay. She answered simply, "They don't want to fail each other." The explanation felt insufficient. Kareem ended the call unsatisfied. Day 5 brought a minor crisis. A foreign client submitted an urgent correction request late afternoon. Deadline 2 hours. Kareem watched the team respond. No instructions were issued. Roles adjusted organically. One employee skipped his break. Another volunteered to stay late. The correction was delivered early. No one celebrated. No one asked for recognition. The team logged out quietly at day's end. Kareem sat alone, replaying the sequence. In his previous firms, overtime required authority. Here, responsibility moved freely, without command. He began to suspect the cameras were observing something unintended. On the sixth day, Kareem noticed fatigue. Small signs, stiff shoulders, slower typing. Yet performance remained stable. At one point, an employee stood and stretched, then poured water for 2 colleagues before returning to her desk. The gesture was small. It unsettled him more than inefficiency ever had. He realized then that surveillance had changed nothing. These people were not performing for the cameras. They were being themselves. The system was not extracting discipline. It was documenting character. Kareem felt discomfort he couldn't classify. Control had revealed commitment, and he hadn't earned it. That afternoon, Kareem stopped the feed, not temporarily, permanently. He instructed IT to deactivate monitoring across the floor. No announcement followed. No explanation. The cameras remained physically present, but the red indicator lights went dark. He returned to his office without watching the reaction. There was none. Work continued. Conversations resumed softly. Someone laughed briefly near the window, then returned to task. Productivity held steady. Nothing collapsed. Nothing needed correction. The absence of surveillance changed nothing, except Kareem's position within the system. He began walking the floor instead, not inspecting, observing. Employees greeted him politely, without fear. They asked questions when needed. They solved problems before escalation. Kareem noticed that no one worked for him directly. They worked for the outcome and for each other. Weeks later, Kareem requested performance reports comparing monitored and unmonitored periods. The metrics were nearly identical. Slightly higher efficiency, without cameras. Slightly fewer errors. The data contradicted his assumptions. Control had not improved results. Trust had sustained them all along. During a quarterly review call with headquarters, Kareem was asked about security protocols. He answered carefully. Surveillance was unnecessary, he said. Silence followed. He added nothing. The decision was noted. No objection came. Results spoke louder than justification. Privately, Kareem reflected on his arrival. He had entered the Philippines believing structure created integrity. What he encountered was the reverse. Integrity created structure. Responsibility flowed downward not from authority, but from shared dignity. The cameras had not disciplined behavior. They had exposed his misunderstanding. One evening, as the office emptied, Kareem noticed a handwritten note taped near the printer. It listed shared supplies and reminders to restock them when low. No name, no directive, just quiet accountability. He stood longer than necessary, reading it twice. He never removed the cameras. He let them remain as artifacts of an abandoned belief. New hires were told they were inactive. No one asked to confirm. The absence of suspicion had become normalized. Surveillance had been replaced by something less measurable and more stable. When Kareem's assignment ended, the farewell was modest. No speeches, no gifts. The team signed a simple card. He thanked them individually. Words felt insufficient. What they had demonstrated was not obedience, but restraint, care, and self-governance under pressure. Back at headquarters, Kareem declined similar surveillance proposals. When asked why, he cited operational data. He never mentioned Manila directly, but in private notes, he wrote one sentence. Observation is not the same as understanding. The cameras in that office still hang silently. New executives sometimes ask about them. The answer remains unchanged. They were installed once, activated briefly, then rendered irrelevant not by protest, but by conduct too consistent to doubt. In a system designed to monitor failure, the Filipino staff revealed something else entirely. Not perfection, not submission, but reliability without enforcement, commitment without coercion, humanity that required no audience. And so, the executive stopped watching, not because he trusted technology less, but because he learned that trust, once proven, does not need a lens to survive.